That is 21 shows watched, 900 episodes of anime, a whole bunch of crucifixions, and a bunch of people in wheelchairs gaslighting you. That, my friends, is the 70s Mecha experience. And I would replace it for a lot of other things, maybe stuff I can actually be social about and do stuff with. But hey, I had a blast, and that's all that really matters. This was such a joy. The good shows, the bad shows, the monsters of the week, and the monsters of the week, and the monsters of the week. Oh boy, that doesn't take away from anything that I did. And I would love to talk about it in a format like this. I was thinking of doing an overarching video, but I love the crescendo of building up from the worst to the best mecha, so let's do that. My name is Dose of Dylan, and this is the anime character I'm going to use for fillers clips and you get to emotionally connect with. His name is Bad Snow. He's a monster from Masterganger. You'll learn about that in a second. I'm here to rank every 70s mecha from worst to best with English subtitles, and not by anonymous Russian rippers. They're like this group that did like MTL subs, and they would add like Russian propaganda and just sometimes slurs. Honestly, their shit should be just taken off of everything. But besides that, let's get to it. Now, the first 4 shows I'm going to talk about, they aren't great. I'm not going to sugarcoat this. I did not enjoy my time with these shows. It's not that they're just episodic. Don't worry, if I wasn't into episodic content, I wouldn't be here. It's just that their characters are bland, the animation sucks, there's no spirit or hope that I can really connect with. This is some of the worst anime I've ever watched. If I were to give a comparison for these group of shows, I would say around the worst of the Violence Jack OVAs, or something like Chargeman Ken by Studio Knack. Speaking of them, number 21. You're an alien, and you've lived with your mother as a struggling immigrant for so long, and you watch her body slowly dying, eyes closing with your father, a connection made of true love. You see her, you can barely contain your emotions, but then Astro Ganger shows up right 2 seconds later. Yo, who cares if the corpse is even cold yet? Let's go, Astro Ganger. Oh man, fucking Astro Ganger. Okay, Astro Ganger is intentionally or unintentionally funny at times. So I'm going to show you all the funny screenshots. Here's Astro Ganger covered in purple cum looking very tired. Here's Astro Ganger telling a thought to be gone. It's just... There's not much here to really talk about. It's bland, it's annoying, soundtrack sucks. This is basically if the legendarily bad Chargeman Ken had a budget and time. This is what you'd get. But throughout it all, there is one saving grace. Ladies and gentlemen, Bad motherfucking Snow. Number 20. Now, this was the only show where the main character was talking, but I wasn't hearing the main character. I was hearing the director or the staff or just someone. And in episode 1, the main character is begging me to complete the show. Gingeyser did not hold its end of the bargain. To tell you how much of a sloppy piece of shit the show is, there is an episode that is just the last 4 fights again, but it's not presented as a clip show, it's not presented as a recap because there's no plot to recap. Presented as an original episode and these as new fights. And this would have been okay once, fine, you had a week, you needed to gather yourself. They do this again. They do it twice. And the only reason why Gingeyser is ahead of Astro Ganger, there are good episodes. The 2 unaired episodes are good. The unaired episodes have like emotional background and are like decent, and it's like the 2 shitty comedy characters. I couldn't believe what I was watching. These were the unaired episodes? Okay, that's enough Gingeyser for one lifetime. God damn it, Gingeyser. As for number 19, Cruiser X starts almost okay, because it's a Golden Guy script, so it's got like a couple of plot lines and it's almost competent. But this is Studio Knack. The Chargeman Ken Astro Ganger, Studio Knack. The yellow tint on the reused animations, oh god. The piss filter that Cruiser X achieves. There is almost nothing good looking about the show. I remember there was this episode where they had the kid character pilot Goizer X, but they didn't replace the little kid with the MC character during the whole transformation sequence. Oh no, they just took the head of the kid and put it onto the MC's body. Studio Knack, you've done it again. By the way, this is one of the few mecha to have a wheelchair kid, and the wheelchair kid doesn't end up standing up at the end of the episode. Credit to them. Instead, she explodes. Number 18. Tekkaman isn't even really a mecha. It's just a guy in an Iron Man suit going, oh, and fighting a bunch of jobbers. The main character is just unlikable. A lot of the emotions the characters go through is just told by the narrator. Most of the main cast is just forgettable. The show is incredibly repetitive, especially with the villains. I swear about half the episodes are just the main villain in a disguise, just duping the heroes every time. Andrew doesn't get duped in one episode, but the rest of them, oh my god, dude, come on. But Andrew is actually phenomenal. I love Andrew. His poses, his afro, he's great. And there's some decent ideas in episodes later on. But the MC, just to give the contrast, he kills a bus full of innocent aliens. And then Andrew's like, dude, just apologize. It's fine. He's like, no, I can't. Fuck off. But that at least concludes this tier of shows. The next tier of shows have at least some positives to them I can talk about, but they just have such long stretches or just aspects that are just so low quality, they drag them down to being pretty damn mediocre. Number 17, Daikengo. Now, what can I tell you that you don't already know about Daikengo, the ultra famous Daikengo? Bitches love Daikengo. Daikengo is a show of two halves. The first half actually being pretty impressive. I liked some politics going on. There's characters with layers. The villains have some fun banter. But then the second half rolls around and it turns very repetitive, very quick. The sudden, at the end, tragic twist. The animation gets worse. We start to repeat episodes and arcs. It's not very good. But hey, the mecha has teeth and that's kind of cool at least. Then number 16, good old Gowapper. This is a show that betrays its main cast. Ryoma is the most boring 70s mecha protagonist. That's a bar. That's a fucking bar. And he jumps over it with grace. Hayato has some funny aura moments where he's just aura farming all the time, but then those kind of just go away and he's just there and he's a bit bland. And Musashi, he's got some humor in the first half, but then that goes away for this ugly, hairy motherfucker who just takes his role and his humor. It's the same jokes just again. And this show does have stretches of decent episodes. There's some okay episodes at the beginning, 16 to 23 is okay. Last 5 episodes before the finale are also okay. Then you get to the finale. The worst 70s mecha finale. I swear, the Gowapper doesn't even die as the Gowapper, it dies as the Jets. And then Musashi's just I guess I'm gonna go and shoot this missile off. Oh no, it didn't work. I guess I'm gonna accidentally kamikaze. This finale was terrible and it's unfortunate. It's Gowapper, man. It just broke my heart. For the 15th show, we're gonna have to do a little bit of a detour. Outside of the first 5 combining robots and the transformation sequence and having a mid-series handsome overarching villain, Combat V's historical significance is way overblown. I understand the show was popular and it influenced people, but dear God, everything story content wise this show does was done in Mazinger Z. There's 1 2-episode arc, and that is used for oh my god, this is when overarching stories happen. And Mazinger Z has a 10-episode arc and it has multiple 2 to 3-episode arcs. So does Getter. So does even Grandizer a couple times. Great Mazinger. One of the things about Great Mazinger was there was less overarching plots. And there was actually plot points that would grow from previous episodes in Mazinger. And people like to go, oh man, it was so much darker. Dude, how many kids died in Mazinger Z, or Great Mazinger, or Grandizer, or Gowapper, and the whole interplay with the villains and the character development for the villains?
The first 2 entries in this trilogy brought antagonists to the forefront as proper characters, as opposed to simple caricatures.
Garuda is not the first villain in 70s mecha to get character development. Ashura and Dr. Hell have multiple scenes where you're supposed to feel bad for them. They're crying, they're stressed out. Dr. Hell basically has a panic attack at one point. Even one of the main villains in Grandizer has some pretty tragic shit happen to him. You literally watch it happen. What, because they were uggos, they can't be sad or something? They can't have character development? Is that what we're saying, man? And that's not even including something like that one episode with the German doctor and the little girl that was the inspiration for the Shin Mazinger arc. And it's not any of the other things that we give the Robot Romance trilogy, this being the first of it. The other Robot Romance trilogy shows do it, but not this one. In fact, the whole this is where mecha stopped becoming so toy commercial. I actually think this is the most toy commercial mecha of its time. It has to be at like a 70% clip, but all the plot has to stop, and at 21:30 specifically, that the show just does the super attack, and you have to do the super attack. And I just don't want to dump on this show this whole time, because Garuda is probably the best written thing up to this point in 70's Mecha. And there's a couple of decent episodes with Hyoma. The Yo-Yo episode is legendary, but I can't sit here and say that I'm too positive about everything. Garuda, once he leaves the show, the villains are much less interesting, and the Frog Kids. The first half of Combat V actually doesn't have a lot of comedy. It's the second half which has the majority of the comedy, and it's with the Frog Kids. Frog Kids are constantly annoying. I just can't get into them at all. I didn't really find them funny or endearing in any way, and also how repetitive the stories are in the second half. That this was the tipping point for me to rank Combat V this low. At number 14, we have the roller coaster of quality of Brave Raideen. The first bits, I think it was interesting just because it's like early Tomino and I just had a fascination with watching it. I do enjoy characters like Asuka Rei, even though she gets kicked out of the show for no reason, and that kind of pisses me off. And Akira and Mary do have a good relationship, but bro, some of the panty shots through this middle section where this quality just dips, and the comedy motherfuckers, oh god, were they getting on my nerves, man. But the middle section right before Tomino leaves, such a strong string of episodes. And that Sharkeen fight, yo, Tomino hit it out of the park right before he left. And then it's the second half was Nagahama, and this, oh, Nagahama, dude, what were you thinking? This is the laziest stretch, episode 30 to episode 40, the lazy stretch outside of Gingeyser on this list. Not animation-wise, the animation is actually pretty good. Writing-wise, episode structure, the character banter, it's the same thing 10 times in a row. This was so boring. The original subgroup that was doing this back in like the mid-2000s stopped here because it was too much. They didn't want to do it anymore, and I don't blame them. The ending is fine. It's the last 4 or 5 episodes are like a prototype of the Robot Romance trilogy to come, but you can't have a stretch that bad and to me not watchable. I just did not enjoy myself at all for me to really go, ah yes, Brave Raideen, I can look past its mistakes. One. The next stretch of shows I'm going to talk about are truly the Atlanta Hawks of anime, or Demon Slayer. Mid as shit. And we're going to start this off as number 13, Diapolon. Football in my Mecha? Yeah, it's a strange one. Diapolon has a great beginning, a decent ending, in the middle that just doesn't really do much for me. There's a couple of good episodes here. I think episode 8 was the standout one with the child character, and the Diapolon gets some cool moves. But if you're gonna ask me about any of the characters or even the plot points, I don't know, it's just kind of unmemorable most of the time. This show has, like, sex-wise, a lot going on with it. Look at this BDSM character. I felt like there's just something a little deeper and sinister going on with Mr. Sunman over here. Let's not go in too deep, shall we? Number 12. Episode 1 of Guy King is one of the most insane episode 1s of any anime I've ever saw. It starts off with the main character, Sanchiro, and he's pitching, and then he needs to go to the hospital because he can't pitch ever again, and then these guys come and attack him, and then they make these friends, and then he jumps out of a train, and then he goes to a secret lab, and then he's like fighting in the Guy King. It's crazy. And then episode 2 picks up with that pacing left off. I feel like a screenwriter that watched Guy King would be going fucking insane. And then episode 3, genuinely one of the best ways to make you hate a villain. It's kind of basic, but it works so well. And I was like, oh man, Guy King is just wild. And then for the rest of the show, it's a straight line of just okay. It's a bunch of disrespecting monuments by saying that the alien race is the reason why they all exist. The religious figures here, the Eastern Island statues, and now they're shooting lasers out of their eyes and shit. I was like, no, these are religious things. This is actually kind of fucking awesome. But it kept on doing this to the point where it stopped becoming typical 70s, let's make these ancient artifacts aliens, and became kind of like world building. Kind of, in my 70s Mecha, holy shit. But I kind of left this show and I was like, what was my favorite episode? Who were my favorite characters? And it was all fine, I had fun, but I had like no one to really pick. Nothing really just stands out after this. It's okay. Episode 3 was great, but beyond that, Number 11 is the number 1 ranked 70s Mecha, at least on Mal, Grendizer. This show has some top tier great moments. Some moments that are just as good as the best stuff on here. Some of these episodes focusing on plot important characters not to be very emotional, resonated with me, and have resonated with audiences for the last like 50 years. Genuinely impressive. But for those highs, there's just so much middle ground of not very good or just unmemorable in general. I do like the cast. Duke, I think it's a bad reputation. There's a lot of character development with Duke, and I do really genuinely like his chill personality, even though it can be a little bland. Koji, he's a bit of a tire fire at times. At least the unintentional or maybe intentional relationship that these two have, the gay undertones, for lack of a better term, are fun. But a lot of the show just meanders or doesn't really have much to show. The fights are great, but there's not much comedy. It's played very straight. It's got a great soundtrack, but even a Kikuchi score can't save just a lot of episodes that don't really move you much. But those emotional episodes, how you're able to connect with Duke and watching Duke go through all his struggles and all the lore is actually pretty decent. If this show was like 26 or 27 episodes, I think it would be one of the top tier mechas of this era. But I gotta take the bad with the good, and it just misses out on the top 10. Starting out with the top 10, you're gonna have to give me a second. Okay. In the name of the Shiba, the Hiroshi, and Jesus Christ. Amen. Lord Jesus, how you've tested me. Over a third of your episodes, every episode, the only show of this era, which is just the opening, ED, and preview, over 2-minute preview, just to bless us with what will happen in the next week. Yours, Jesus Christ, are the show which established that the Jig must transform midair. Then episode 3 have one of the most basic bitch 70's mecha episodes of all time. Then episode 4 contradict that with the Buddha statue lighting a flame with its mouth. And then episode 5 having people pray to Jesus, but that evil gaslighting blonde girl who could have walked the whole time but refused to, that Jig slapped her across the face. And you were so mid, testing the true Jig believers will get to the good part of Kotetsu Jig. I could not believe what you did. I could not believe the quality of Hiroshi's hero arc, even though he's an asshole that slapped his sister like 10 times, still prayed like her and acted like her as I called you and worshipped you, Jesus Christ, as Daddy. Lord Jesus Christ, even though you killed Queen Himika, and even though after that you got a little bit mid, you still had great episodes, great scenes where you get to connect with Hiroshi's struggles, and still had a finale that was kind of mid, but still kind of worked, and then ended with a recap to hear your sermons one last time. Lord Jesus Christ, then you went over there to teach us, to learn how to be like Jig in the Italian movie that was almost nominated for an Oscar, at least for the consideration. You teached us your commandments, Kotetsu Jig. To become like Jig, you must eat pudding, masturbate to porn, watch Kotetsu Jig, do various crimes, swim in toxic waste to get superpowers, sexually assault a girl with clear problems mentally, and that was not cool. You should not have done that. But with these commandments, you can become just like Jig. Yeah, Jig was kind of crazy. The next 4 shows, I think I can actually recommend them to anybody that isn't adverse to the Monster of the Week format. These shows are solid. They have some great highs and a couple of things holding them back, but I can still recommend them. And starting that is at number 9, Getter Robo G, a show that's just overall pretty decent. This show is an upgrade to the original Getter Robo in almost every way. Besides Ryoma, he still is kind of a blank slate and sucks. But Hayato is more of a character, he has more range to him, and Benkei is a little bit more chill. He's got some awkward moments here and there, but I do like him. A lot of the episodes that are kind of Grandizer-like are really good. The one with Masaka Nozawa was incredible. And there's a lot of good episodes overall. Maybe a little bit more comedy could have helped. And there's still the odd dud here and there, but a good finale and a really good beginning, which just retcons the ending of Getter Robo. Thank you. Made for a Getter Robo entry that actually stands by itself. Number 8. It's Great Mazinger. Now, I've seen a little bit of backlash against Great Mazinger. People say they don't enjoy it or put it really low. I honestly still really love great Mazinger, even after all this time. It's got such a great comedy character in Boss, and the beginning of the comedy is a little bit shaky, but Boss steps it up a notch and he becomes an incredibly enjoyable character. Tetsuya and Jun, I think, would have thrived under a different series format, something a little bit less episodic like this, but they're still enjoyable characters and I like them a lot. Jiro has an actual arc with his father Kenzo, and I think that stuff is actually pretty good and works very well with the series. Not to mention great standout episodes like the racism episode, which for its time period, I think it does a very good job with the subject matter. But this show does kind of live in Mazinger Z's shadow, and overall it executes being a Monster of the Week show worse than a couple of shows above it. So that's why it isn't at the top tiers, but it's still at least a good show, and yeah, it deserves to be this high. Number 7 is the iconic Zambot 3. Zambot 3 has an incredible, memorable story. What can you say about that finale and how it built itself? What can you say about even the middle portion and some of the most infamous moments from there? They've transcended just 70's mecha. It earned Tomono the name Kill 'em all Tomono for a reason. What I think is overlooked sometimes by people is how good the side cast is. The grandparents being so enjoyable, especially grandmother, and Butcher the Killer is an incredible villain for this story. He actually gives some levity needed at times. And it's not all depressing, there's some happy moments in here too. Seeing characters connect and bonds be formed. What's holding it back are, well, its production is pretty lackluster. And the episode 20, I believe, is almost show breaking since it establishes adults could have had the Zampa, but they just were never here. That episode is strange, and it was the last one produced for a reason. But overall, a solid show with some incredible highs that I think every anime fan should at least try once. And number 6, I am tired. Sick and tired of pretending Deltonios does not belong in the Robot Romance trilogy. Sick and tired. This show is Combat V, but better. Oh my god, I know this show is known for Nagahama's last mecha. He left midway through to do Rose of Versailles, but dude, the vibes are immaculate. The character bonds between the main cast is great, and even the main character, he's one of the best main characters in 70's mecha, and he's such an easy character to root for, and sometimes genuinely funny. And his banter with Earl, yeah, this big bearded guy's name is Earl, and his whole backstory going on actually has a lot of depth to him and adds to his character and adds to his personality. He even has a moment where he first meets a very important character and he doesn't really know how to react. He goes into his sarcastic routine and then he just kind of breaks down because this means something to him. And then Nagahama does leave and the show dips a bit. Like, the oomphies are a little less focused, the themes of found family kind of leave, but I don't think it's bad. I still think it's great, and what makes it Robot Romance is all here. The villain is tragic, an actual very dark backstory for the main villain. And then you also have the Robot Romance trilogy villain, who does have a lot going on for him, and he has a full arc. I fully support being part of the Robot Romance trilogy. I fully recommend Deltonios to anybody that's interested. A diamond in the rough that I was looking for and happy that I experienced. As we enter the top 5, these are shows that without a doubt, without a filter, without thinking of, oh, do they like 70's mecha or old mechas or old anime in general, I can literally with a straight face tell you, you should watch these shows. It's full confidence. Starting that is at number 5, Dai-Tarn 3. Dai-Tarn 3 is a comedy among comedies. It is Yoshiyuki Tomono going to that crazy place, and you will love Yoshiyuki Tomono when he goes to that crazy place. Outright funny episodes that I couldn't believe what I was watching, but yo, they were just going off. I loved it. Banjo Haran, he's got a good blend of humor, and he's kind of cool with his whole James Bond attitude, and then he gets serious. Banjo Haran's serious episodes are actually some of the best shit in 70's mecha. The ending is iconic for a reason. Supporting cast, I think, do where they're welcome by the end, but that's like the last 4 or 5 episodes for me. Until that point, they were incredible. Beauty is funny, Reiko is hilarious, Butler is a highlight throughout, and all the episodic villains I think are extremely solid. It's not hard to find at least a couple of episodic villains that stand out and where these are hilarious or sometimes even dramatic in the right ways. Whether it's just a quirky thing that they put in the background because the animators were having fun, or using their limited resources in the best way possible, or even just being dramatic and having these great character focused episodes. I am a massive fan of Dai-Tarn 3. And I think anybody that's willing to watch a 70s mecha should check this out. It in fact deserves to be in as many Super Robot Wars games as it is. Deserves. The Robot Romance Trilogy, Nagahama's masterwork. Unfortunately, Nagahama was taken away far too soon, but he was able to at least leave a legacy, a lasting legacy that transformed the whole genre as we know it. And one of those shows, Voltes 5, still has its name remembered and celebrated to this day. Voltes 5 is probably one of the more flawed shows in the top 5. It starts a little bit too straight, and I can kind of get that attitude. It's maybe a little too melodramatic. And in the middle is kind of this dad teasing arc, teasing and stringing along the father character in the reunion. Nagahama loves to do that shit. He does it a lot. But when this show peaks, when this show hits, Ichikawa playing Prince Sunil, one of my favorite performances from this decade. Ichikawa kills it every time with his big booming voice and his presence and his sense for dramatic, his flair, and I loved every second watching the arcs and these characters move on as we get the true start of transforming away from strictly episodic television to a more overarching from the beginning to end story. This is when it starts. Voltes V is so important to that transformation for anime in general. And what can I say about that ending? This is the best ending. The best 70s mecha finale ever. This did Gundam before Gundam. Some of that is by circumstance because they got the episode count cut, but even remembering that, it worked in its favor. My god, and the struggle and going to space and how frantic it felt and how epic it was. It was like, damn, a lot is happening, and it's happening at maybe a fast pace, but a pace that still made sense and still was be me at the edge of my seat. And oh my god, the fights, the cinematography, the directing, Nagahama in his fucking bag. Prince Sunil in the final episode, Prince Sunil in general during the finale. God damn this man. This is the only series that has a weekly episode where there's no fight. And the whole reason was because they needed plot. And it was a great episode. And it's not just the last like 4 or 5 episodes, it's the whole second half. I fucking adore Voltes 5. Even though it has faults, it is one of the highest peaks that any show in this genre during this decade reached. Number 3. I feel like I'm almost robbing this show of a higher placing, or at least at number 2, and it has an argument for that. What's here deserves to be celebrated nonetheless. Daimos. Daimos is the crowning achievement and the buildup of 10 years of development of Nagahama as a writer and a director. This show, beautiful shots, incredible fights, great characters, the side characters. Richter, beside Char Aznavour, is the best villain of 70s mecha. He's got such range to him, and Ichikawa, again, killing it. Fucking murdering that Mike. And the character reveals and the plots and the intertwining political stuff put throughout the show. Characters having deep interpersonal moments, thinking back and having almost like panic attacks through playing fucking drums. And you have enjoyable comedy characters, enjoyable comedy episodes, enjoyable moments in general. And it's just well animated and well shot throughout. Almost very few weak episodes. I can't think of a weak episode on top of my head. Morally gray stuff with the humans. Not everybody is a good guy that just has to beat these dastard aliens. No, like there's assholes on our side too. There's a couple of aspects that I might have a little bit of an issue with. I don't think doing the star-crossed lovers Romeo and Juliet thing for a 50 episode show works as well. And I mean, unlike other shows, they give Erica a lot. And there are actually some like long-term circumstances, tragedies that happen to other characters. You get to see Richter go through his sort of character arc and his struggles. And it just warms my heart to see Nagahama go from some of my least favorite shit and Brave Raideen to this. So some of the best stuff in 70s mecha. Only thing that slightly holds the show back for me is Kazuya. Kazuya has some fantastic moments, and overall he's a decent character, but man, does this show just love to just kiss his ass, and it gets a little bit too much. I think he even survives like a gunshot to the head at one point. Kind of crazy. But besides that, this show is extremely well written, extremely well done, It's something that anybody can watch. Like, fuck yeah, let's go Tosho Daimos. Number 2 is Mobile Mazinger Z. It's Mazinger Z is number 2. Despite the first 20 episodes being the weakest part of the show for me, you know, it's actually kind of hard to recommend Mazinger. However, Mazinger Z is a joy. It's got the most underrated and underappreciated anime trios in the West. Just the comedy vibes, they never end. I think about Boss and some of the shit he pulls, his on strike episode when he wants Boss Barot to fly, the episodic characters, or even to Koji himself, watching all the characters' development. The villains, Bear and Ashura, is hilarious, and actually, like, you feel for them. They have like dramatic character episodes with Bear and Ashura. Dr. Hell is actually a very well executed Monster of the Week villain. Really underrated. He has moments of acknowledging Koji, moments of actual like emotional turmoil. Koji is a bit of a dick, but he's kind of one of those dicks that you just go, ah, come on, you know, he's an asshole, but he's your asshole. Sayaka goes through like 2 character reboots, but once she finally gets to who she is, that tomboy, it's hilarious. This is a masterclass in how to do this, and why I'm so harsh on shows that came just after it, because in 1972 they hit it out of the park. It took until the end of the decade for me to get to shows that are even close to how much I love Mazinger Z. I don't go on this journey without Mazinger Z. I don't become the Mecha fan I am without Mazinger Z. And you could put that as like, oh, you just personally love it. Yeah, but I personally love it for a reason, and I do believe it is the second best 70s mecha. As for number 1, I don't even need to qualify it. Yeah, it's Mobile Suit Gundam. Mobile Suit Gundam is number 1. This is coming from the guy that just ragged on people overrating Combat V's effect on mecha and effect on anime. This is as revolutionary as people say it is. Especially to mecha, it's such a big stepping stone in televised conflicts and long-term storytelling. It's a massive deal that the villains were just human. Although something like Daimos has Barn and they're very close to human, and there's Barn politics, and I do want to represent that. Having Zeon literally mirror a real-world conflict in people that you cannot see, if you get my drift, is a massive deal, because unlike something like Voltes 5, it isn't just there's this one really cool guy, Char Aznable, he's good and everyone else is dirty and evil and boo. It shows that the other side of a conflict isn't just 1 or 2 decent guys and then a whole body of corrupt people. It's the ideas that something like the Robot Romance trilogy started and played with and did a decent job at introducing and evolving them to what they are kind of today. That's not even to talk about somebody that's such a good main character like Amuro. Amuro rebels against the good guys. He rebels against doing what he's doing. And I understand, you know, I'll be the first one to say, Zambot 3's ending, Kazuya playing the drums and all stressed out. There is nobody that's more fearful of his power than Amuro. He was able to successfully capture what a lot of people in Japan were feeling at the times. A lot of Japanese media literally had subtext with World War II, but I don't think there's one that exists that mirrors World War II exactly like this before Gundam. And that is such an important thing, especially for Japan at the time. And if you ever watch Yoshiyuki Tomino talk about this, he really talks about World War II and the effect it had in a previous generation, and that's all over his work when he came to Gundam 79, and him able to capture that feeling and present it in such an ambitious piece of media. And I'm not even gonna get into my favorite character of all time, Char Aznable. We'd be here all fucking day. If you think I like Richter and Prince Neil, brother, I love Char Aznable so much. I went to the movie theaters to watch the fucking Gundam G-Cooks movie. And that's not even because, like, I never watched anime movies in theaters. I was like, whatever. Char Aznable? Nah, that motherfucker taking my first time. Like, literally, me sitting there in a movie theater alone, the only motherfucker in that movie theater, slapping my fucking thigh, going, oh my god, look, they're playing the fucking music. So I fucking love Char, alright? But let's go on, okay. But yeah, it's Mobile Suit Gundam number 1. Even though you guys knew that, and even though I knew that going into this, I didn't waste my time doing this. I had a blast. This was something that maybe I shouldn't have done. I should have probably not watched a lot of the shows in the bottom tiers. Probably should have only watched like 12 of them, but I went through with it. I was dedicated, took my time. I enjoyed the bad with the good, studying this whole genre, seeing where it came from the bottom to the top. I can't really say that I regret even watching the bad shows. Did you watch every 70s mecha? Probably not, but there's a couple things here you can enjoy, and I think they're worth experiencing. At least watch the Eternios, man. Come the fuck on. Y'all be haters.